Game over! Mamma mia! Game over!
Greetings, delicious friends. How are you today?
Welcome to Press Start to Design.
Yes, it is a thing that we are here to do today. We're here to talk about games and design them.
So you better press start.
Yeah. So,
Just imagine I was slapped. You know I deserved it.
yeah.
Yeah, you did.
In any case, so games you guys want to talk about on the today. Do you want to talk about the thing we were talking about before we started recording this?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, before we started recording this, Jeff and I, and Jacob was studiously trying to ignore us because he didn't want to cheat this time. Because he's a jerk and a loser.
And not a real friend.
Yeah, all the cool kids cheat.
Yep, I am a Pinocchio among us.
But, in any case, what I was talking about with Jeff was, I really liked Myst. Those of you who don't know Myst, it was a really kind of deeply involved puzzle game from the early to mid 90s.
It was like a Tolkien version of a video game.
Yeah, actually, kind of. It was like a really deep. It's kind of like the Godzilla of puzzle games.
Well, I was just saying it was Tolkien in that it was kind of like overly loquacious, kind of long and inaccessible in the same way those books are.
I would kind of disagree, but I mean, I like both Tolkien and Myst, so, you know, hey.
Also, Hobbit is probably very accessible.
Off topic.
Nowadays.
But what I liked about them was, in a certain sense, that loquaciousness. A lot of the way you solved the game's puzzles was by reading a lot of in-game texts, generally in the form of journals or generally in the form of people's journals. And what I liked about that is it made you feel like an active part of the world. It made you engage with, it made you read the text closely, as if you were like, okay, I need to find out what the hell is going on here, because I just got dropped on an island in the middle of friggin' nowhere. And that was engaging to me. That really kind of captured my imagination. It was something I really, really dug about the series. And it's something that I don't feel like is in a lot of other games. Like, yes, there is things like Skyrim, which have like huge libraries of books, but it's never a part of the game that actually matters.
Like, you can get through a lot of the game without actually reading the books. You just need to find them and then own them.
For Myst, there were
In Skyrim.
Oh, in Skyrim, yeah. Like, for me, collecting the books was a huge part of the game, but it didn't really matter to like the conclusion of the game. Whereas in Myst, you could solve all the puzzles in the game successfully. Not without the books, but I mean, if you were just looking for clues for the puzzle, you could solve all the puzzles of the game successfully. But the choice at the end of the game, you would make incorrectly and lose if you hadn't been paying attention to stuff that was being said in the books.
You actually had to learn from the things that you read.
Yeah, you actually had to learn.
Instead of just memorizing.
Yeah, exactly. You had to learn from the things that you read rather than memorizing the parts that seemed relevant at the time. And that I liked that. I liked that a lot. The problem I saw with it is that I felt it was like you said, it kind of does become the Lord of the Rings of puzzle games. It can feel inaccessible at times, and it can, even though I really like it, I can see how a lot of people would really not like Myst because it's involved.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
illiterate people hate Myst.
well, yeah, I'm sure
I'm sure
blind
illiterate people hate a lot of
I'm
games.
sure blind people are not too fond of Myst either.
Yeah, this
Or
is this is your ableist podcast. Press start to design.
yeah, we're pretty clearly super ableist right here.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure blind people can watch us, in a sense. We're
I mean,
also
yeah, they can
audio.
watch this with no problem.
Well, yes, but I mean
We are against deaf people, though.
that is actually a different issue in games, like about like accessibility for people who don't necessarily have all of their faculties, but whatever. That is kind of another thing. But what I like, and it's something I've been thinking about for a while lately, like the accessibility of research-based games and kind of the like how you interact with the storytelling segments and the bits of text we get in games. Because in a lot of games, not just Skyrim, this is especially endemic in RPGs. I find there are texts all over the place, and occasionally effort is made to tie them into the game. Like, oh, there's this quest where you have to read the book to solve the puzzle, but really it doesn't matter. And that's something that's always bothered me because I like that. I like that digging through um, game texts and like reading all the bits of minutia and trying to connect the dots and be like, oh, okay, so here's what's happening and figuring that out. That's exciting to me. And the fact that so rarely do I run across that in games as a goal towards like as a mechanical tool, it kind of bothers me.
Okay, first off, I learned that I need to buy you a DS with Hotel Dusk, Professor Layton, and Phoenix Wright on it.
Yes, but like the Phoenix Wright I've played, which is admittedly limited, it's always been like Jeff, like you said, it's been about memorization and not necessarily deep reading or understanding. It's just trying to pick out the pertinent information
Yeah.
in simple logic puzzles.
Comprehension is something that has eluded like designers of educational games for quite a bit. Like it's something that people strive to happen, but isn't necessarily happening.
Yeah,
And you can get that with platformers more, like the actual comprehension of the game mechanics. Like Super Meat Boy is all about the comprehending how the mechanics of the game work. However, when you put that in a research setting and also try to make it accessible, I'm not sure how you can do that.
that's true.
However, we should make a Myst for illiterate people. That should be the topic.
Oh, a game
I
about
think
pictures.
that is incredibly like. What direction do you want to go with this?
It'll be
Effectively, what I'm
something
saying
where they are
is,
still taking information and they need it. However, it doesn't necessarily need text. Like it's all about like making sure you're taking all of the information in.
I'm thinking of a mixture between I Spy
well, I
and
mean,
audio collecting logs.
one could argue that Portal is like that.
Yeah, one can. However,
Yeah, but you saying a research game rather than a platformer, which Portal was.
Yeah, like well,
definitely a
you're getting at
platformer.
the like research game is the core of what you're getting at.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could be
Yeah.
down for that.
Okay then. So if it's going to be for illiterate people, I think we may want to also skew toward the young as well. So it could also be a game for kids, not necessarily just illiterate.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily for illiterate people. It's just one that they
That
can
doesn't
also
require
enjoy.
reading. One that doesn't require a high level of reading comprehension.
Yes, and that would also help with the accessibility. It would also help with the language.
Barriers
Yep.
make the game more translatable too.
Okay then.
Yeah.
So
So then it will rely on like cultural conventions, which are a whole nother bag in localization. So whatever. That's
yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean,
that might
localization
actually.
is never an easy. Like, I mean, if you didn't rely on those things in game design, then like you'd have very simplistic games. I think. I don't think there's anything like there's no such thing as an easily localizable game.
Who wants a jelly donut made out of rice?
A donut made out of rice? What?
You don't watch enough Pokemon.
Okay.
Glad we're on top.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on topic. But you know, I dig that.
Pokemon's video games.
Honestly, I think that the probably the best direction to go with that would probably be something that's more like
I Spy.
no, I was going to say archaeology based.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you have any like more thoughts on like where you'd want to go with that, Jeff?
Well, okay. So, for example, there was this game called Dropsy about a clown. It's an adventure game.
I'm not familiar.
It's not necessarily research based, but there's no text. Like everyone talks in like pictograms and stuff like that. It stars a clown and his dog.
That actually seems kind of cool.
But this would be, like you said, research based. So like you're looking for something, you're digging through something. It could be something like Lifeless Planet. You're in this in Lifeless Planet you like end up on a where you think is Mars, and then you go through.
Isn't that the new game that just came out on Steam?
It hasn't. I mean, it came out like a month ago, I think.
Well, I mean that's still pretty new, as compared to Myst, which came out like 17 years ago now.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, you're looking through like a dead civilization. Or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting to me, and like this is kind of another thing I was thinking about, like another thing that interesting me, and like a way to make the searching for content more engaging was the idea that stuff would disappear over time. Like the way the game became more difficult wasn't that like, oh, the puzzles necessarily became like harder, but that you would lose tools over time, and that you'd start the game kind of in this position of like, okay, yes, I have everything, I have all of this wealth of knowledge to draw from to help me solve these problems or these puzzles that I'm facing. And then as time went by, like it's like you'd start losing those resources, and like you'd be trying to distill information from more limited sources.
Well, in this case, it could be something like you are a researcher,
Yeah.
and you're the thing that is declining is your research funds.
Oh, that's actually interesting.
And so, like, you have equipment that you can find stuff with, but like as you go on, you can't be using that equipment all the time. Those could be like hints, for example. Like that could be like this way of like hints or something.
I really like that.
However, we also want to make it so that you can't just remember stuff. So it's going to have some sort of element of random generation.
like, well, how do you mean you like you can't just remember where stuff is?
Yeah.
Or...
yes.
Or maybe you can like have a map where you can plot things.
Because if you can just read the facts, it's less about comprehension and more about just
like
following instructions.
Yeah, following instructions, exactly.
But maybe you can also have like a map where you just put pictures in spots. It's to remember things.
Well, then in that case, it's really a matter of like. All right. Well, then this gets kind of down to the nature of the puzzles and exactly because with reading, I guess it's a little easier. But since we're talking about visually, like what kind of comprehension are we talking about here? Like, exactly.
I guess it would have to be something that conveys the rules of the world.
Maybe like the uses for objects.
Yeah, or just how like things work. Or
Yeah, like
what if you had a camera?
Understanding how the systems of the world work, and since we're talking about like you're a researcher, I'm getting the sense that if we haven't mentioned it already, because I'm brain dumbing right now, but
yes.
archaeologist, I sense, is the direction we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Or photographer.
it would seem like drawing, like, it would seem like that you'd have, later puzzles in the game would have to, like, you'd have to have drawn conclusions from stuff that wasn't explicitly spelled out to you, and that you'd be able to successfully, like, muddle your way through parts of the game on memorization, but at a certain point, you'd have to be like, oh, okay, I now need to I need to understand what I've been seeing and draw conclusions from that.
hmm So I would say like probably it would be like in like history class where you would be like, okay, these people like okay, so like like clam circles.
No, I don't know what a clam circle is.
So like in anthropology, they found these formations where it was just like clamshells and stuff.
Yeah.
But eventually, it was concluded that those circles were around like villages, like settlements, and people after eating the clam, they would just throw them away from the settlement, and so that made a circle.
Yeah.
It would be, and that's the type of conclusion that we would want to make.
Yeah,
I
and
would say.
I agree with that. I'm just really trying to like I keep having this problem where I'm like I bump against like, oh yeah, that'd be really great if you had like text that mentioned like people eating. I'm like, oh wait, text.
Yeah, we don't have to necessarily not have any text because
Well,
we
no,
have text.
I think it's an interesting, like the thing is, I think it's an interesting design idea and an interesting challenge. And I mean, like honestly, that's the whole reason we're talking about this right now in front of these recording equipments. So I think it's an interesting idea.
We're always around recording equipment.
Well, yes,
We technically are. We carry our phones in our pockets, don't we?
that is true. But I mean, specifically, we are now intentionally recording what we are saying to things.
Okay.
Yeah, but maybe you could also have a camera, and instead of a journal, you have a scrapbook. And you could also use the camera to actually take pictures as a way to highlight certain things and relay certain information.
But then you would also have like a limited amount of film that you could.
Yeah, because I mean that then you'd get back to like if you gave him too much, you'd get back to the memorization problem.
Yeah.
And it becomes less about like understanding what you're seeing and just flipping through the book, like flipping through your scrapbook until you find, oh, this is the piece that I need to solve this puzzle. And it basically just falls into the standard adventure game trap of let me rub everything I have on everything I see
Yeah.
until I solve the puzzle, you know?
Exactly.
Memories.
Are you okay, Jacob?
Yeah.
Are you sure? You don't look well.
I'm just trying to rest in a way that I'm close to the microphone and can see the computer.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
I could be sitting up and facing the computer, but that would actually make the entire setup fail.
Yeah, it just looks like an album cover.
Like silently staring off at the ceiling.
Yeah, like for his like jazz album.
Yeah. Silently staring off at the ceiling is the name of my Radiohead cover band.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure.
And I'm the one going on tangents.
Yes.
This is organic conversation, guys. Can you feel it?
This is so organic. Such organs. But in any case, I'm really kind of struggling away at this problem. Do you guys have any thoughts?
Jacob?
I was thinking more of the camera thing. Like, maybe just stealing, Metroid Prime's idea of having multiple scanners. Like, maybe the camera could have, like, an infrared something on it.
Well, doesn't that like really just like make it about rote memorization again, or?
Yeah, which is why I didn't want to really bring it up. But I was trying to think of a way around that.
Well, I've got nothing, so I think this is kind of a dead end.
I'm sorry, guys. I got you guys on another dead end.
That's okay.
Jeff, no matter what you do, you will not be able to top our worst episode of this.
Which episode are? Well, anyway.
Part 3 of that series.
Well, in any case, I've got nothing. You guys got nothing. So, do you
We're
want to just
all fake people with no substance.
We are all meaningless entities floating in a mostly empty void.
Yep. It's good.
So, on that note,
Maybe you can add a faction system.
I don't know. Well, Jeff? What do you think?
Where did that come from? A faction system?
Yeah, I'm kind of like,
Well, maybe you're a researcher trying to research certain things for different sorts of people, like indigenous people, research people, grants, and you're trying to do multiple things for multiple types of people.
Okay, yeah. So it could be something like if you are more likely, you can also, okay, so one thing you can do, you can purposefully make a wrong conclusion because there are certain people who would prefer that.
I like that. Well, I like that, and that could be a way to manage your resources.
You get more
could-
money, but you
get
also,
more money. Yeah. You
I mean,
lose.
will there be a win condition in that case?
That's the thing. Like, what's the win condition for the game then?
You find the aliens.
You find the aliens. You
Yeah.
find the Declaration of Independence.
No, you find the aliens. It's an aliens.
Well, in National Treasure's defense, it was accessible.
Oh man.
And that was about all you can say for it.
Well, it could be a situation where not only is the money disappearing for your research, but the objects you're researching could be disappearing. Like, for example, it could be one of those situations like they had in with all the temples that were built along the Nile, that they had to move or they let drown when they built that really big dam. Or what happened to all those ancient Chinese sites that got drowned when they built the Three Gorges Dam.
Or the Campus Martius that was like basically like a field full of statues, if I remember correctly, and they took it down because they wanted to use that material for cement, I think.
Or there could be a rival researcher.
Oh, that happened to a lot of Roman structures. Like the Colosseum is in the state it's in because people were harvesting it for its marble.
Yeah.
And that happened to the Great Pyramids because I mean that's why the tops still have their skin, but the rest is just a pile of rocks because they stripped the casing for other stuff over the millennia.
Also topped with gold.
Really? Were they?
I think it was either gold or some sort of precious.
Well,
So
that's cool. Slightly off topic, but really cool. That's kind of like where I'd like to be. I don't know. I like that idea of like your ultimate goal is preserving or like either preserving the work or trying to find something with this work that's left, with this stuff that's left over.
yeah,
But those artifacts, not only is the funding for your project disappearing, but the artifacts themselves are disappearing.
or
And
deteriorating. Like the more that you examine it,
the less you have
and-
to work with.
Yeah, and your ultimate goal is to protect the history, not necessarily. And with the faction system, it's like protect the history by kissing up to people who have the money, protect the history by giving it to the indigenous people, protect the history by making sure researchers have copies of everything.
And it's like, well, how do you make the like a how do you balance the what you feel is whatever you feel is ethically right, what you feel is ethically right, and getting more money to continue your research to preserve more of it, and that kind of dance.
Yep, protecting
But
history.
then also
Exactly.
making sure that you meet those aliens.
Yeah, clear. Well, I mean, I'm not exactly opposed to the alien thing. Cthulhu is always a good um, standby
Yep.
because Cthulhu Fhtagn, he hangs out in ancient ruins all the time.
Yeah.
They're like his bros.
Yeah,
The
but
Bruins are his bros?
Well,
so we have our
yeah, Narlahotep was Cthulhu's bro, and he lived in ancient ruins.
I thought they were like.
so I think we actually did pretty well considering we were at a dead end 10 minutes ago.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think we kind of pushed through that, courtesy of your actions, Jacob. So if you feel
Thanks.
we should stop, you have only yourself to blame.
I'm just noting that the time is at 25 minutes.
Okay, well, would you like to call it here?
We could call it here or keep going. Jeff, how do you feel? Do you think we accomplished what we came for?
Yeah, whatever you guys feel. I mean, I'll talk if you want me to. I won't if you don't want me to. I'll
Will you
die if you want me to.
will you dance for me?
No, I hate dancing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but dying, you're kind of on the fence about.
I'm okay with dying, just not dancing.
That's kind of sad.
uh, well, so did we accomplish what we accomplished?
I think that's kind of a good place to leave it off.
Okay then. So there's our breakpoints. They're scattered in there somewhere.
Yeah. Woo!
Okay. Okay then. So thank you for joining us for another rousing episode of Press Start to Design. Glad we're back.
Yeah, another episode of Press Start to Design.
I made things,
You made a
contributions.
Jeff, you definitely helped. You brought about the barrier challenge of no text whatsoever, which is a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I liked it. That was actually that was really cool.
Thanks for jacking me off, guys.
You're welcome.
I enjoy jacking you off, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay then.
someone
so,
asked it, right?
Yeah.
Well, goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
All right.